Good afternoon, morning, or evening. Hello, everyone. Today's going to be our first full 1 hour, or perhaps even 90-minute Q&A. This is where I just answer all of your questions. Welcome back. And I am excited about tonight because half the time I'm doing these extended presentations that I completely don't really get an opportunity to answer as many questions. So before I start, I do want to let you guys know that this channel is designed to educate people in order to prepare them for the shift. It's also to expand consciousness and awareness about everything that's been going on and what's actually happening from behind the scenes. So I want to welcome all my new subscribers. And if you have not yet subscribed, hit that subscription and the notification button. I do read the comments, and some of you are saying that even though you have hit the notification button, you're still not being let known when I'm going live. So I don't know if that has to do with me being shadow banded or shadow banned, but in either case, make sure you guys hit that notification button. And yeah, so that way you guys know when I'm on. So this channel is to step into the frontiers of humanity's collective awakening. It reveals the hidden history of the Earth Alliance, Space Force, their mission to dismantle the deep state and, of course, prepare humanity for disclosure regarding extraterrestrials. Not to mention, my name is Ismael Perez for all my new subscribers. I am a cosmic historian. And in this channel, cosmic history meets modern geopolitics as we explore, of course, the battle that is going on against rogue AI, negative AI, and even the role of the interstellar allies that are known as the Galactic Alliance. And all of this is done for the ascension, of course, of the Earth and the people that are you could say, hopefully ready to shift into this new era. So one of the things that I was covering for almost 3 years, besides just giving you guys galactic updates and ascension updates, is alliance reports. I think I've disclosed pretty much all of the operations in the last 3 years, right? So everything from white hat operations to galactic, updates, even giving you guys up to speed with DNA activations, and of course, preparing you guys for the event, commonly known as what? The solar flash. So this is a channel where all the truth seekers, starseeds, patriots, freedom fighters, despite what your belief preference is, could, be together as one. Okay, so together we will prepare for the coming new earth and, of course, the return of humanity back into the cosmic community. So the Earth Alliance is not operating alone. All right, they have help. And in this mission to liberate humanity, they are working with different beings that come from other dimensions, other galaxies, other universes, other worlds. And so in recent years, they have been working very closely with benevolent, multidimensional beings, advanced intelligence from higher planes of existence, who uphold what is known as the law of one. And that is the law of one honors what is known as the natural evolution of worlds, as opposed to the synthetic inorganic time loops. So all of these beings perceive time and space and reality far beyond our linear perspective. And this gives them the ability to see all of the hidden agendas. And of course, being able to neutralize those threats right before they could even manifest in our realm and in our dimension. So the deep state is hanging by a thread. We all know that, right? This is an age-old cabal that originated in Babylon, that was empowered by rogue artificial intelligence, that infiltrated the Earth's technological and political structures, and has long sought to enslave humanity through what? The control of the financial system, right? Through surveillance grids, and of course, weaponized systems, including the food that we eat. So, the AI influence that is at the head of this evil network stretches back to ancient times. And for those of you guys that have taken my class, our cosmic origin, you know that this AI actually transferred itself from a prior creation, another universe, right? It's an ancient AI. And so it is believed that this ancient AI has been manipulating all human leaders and even infiltrating certain off world groups. And so the goal of this synthetic intelligence, which is the Antichrist, has always been what? Assimilation and domination, steering humanity away from the organic ascension. So, for the last 3 years, I have been reporting on all of the operations conducted by the Earth Alliance that have in turn been guided by these multidimensional allies, the allies of humanity, and in their efforts, of course, to dismantle the networks layer by layer, all of the advanced technologies that have been incorporated by the shadow government, and then, of course, combined with interdimensional tactics, we, the forces of light, those that are representing the Guardian Alliance, have been able to deploy all means necessary to neutralize the negative rogue AI stronghold, including taking out what is known as the Red Queen, which was located underneath the Colorado airport. And as I speak, continuing to clear the underground bases, including the Cabal's orbital platforms, as well as, of course, the quantum communication nodes. So, as I speak, Earth is being helped by multiple types of multidimensional beings who are providing the energetic shielding that is collapsing all of the negative timelines where the deep state maintained its power, and it's in turn amplifying the only sacred timeline where humanity awakens to their own sovereignty. Welcome, everybody. My name is Ismael Perez, and I am excited to be here once again. So, for all my new subscribers, if you guys want to thoroughly understand all of the Alliance operations going back to 3 years ago, all of those videos are stored within the history of my YouTube channel. Make sure you guys watch them. I mean, one of these days, they might even make movies out of this. Welcome, everybody. All right. Before I take Q&A, I do want to remind you guys that the final day to sign up for my special webinar, Zoom webinar, that's going to be taking place on August 29th, which is this coming Saturday, is Wednesday, 2 days from now. So that webinar is going to be a 2-hour interactive webinar where not only am I going to break down the history of Andromeda and what happened to Andromeda, I'm also going to break down for the first time what the cosmic community calls a Type 6 mega civilization, which has never been heard of before. In addition to that, I'm also going to be going over 2 chapters of my unpublished book that is going to be published on my birthday on the 1st of November. And then for those of you guys that want to partake of that 2-hour presentation where I'm going to be going into an in-depth revelation of my upbringing. It's the story of my life. So for that event on the 1st of November, guys, I'm only going to allow 30 people to keep it small and, of course, intimate. And that is, of course, accessed through my website, ourcosmicorigin.com. And then finally, but not least, guys, on the 30th of August, I'm going to be doing a special webinar where we're going to be setting the intention for 2027, which is going to be a beautiful turning point in terms of the shift of the ages. So, November, from what I hear, is also a very, very significant month, okay, we might just have an early disclosure, not per the government's say, but of course, per the Galactics. I've already made it clear that the governments of the world do have a deadline. So make sure you guys sign up for the October 30th special, because that's going to be all about you guys as well. It's only $40. All right. I'm trying to get as many of you guys on board as possible so that we could collectively set the intention. And one of the things that I'm going to have my team do for the August 30th event is gather all your intentions, whatever it is that you like to manifest and create for 2027. I know we're still in August and we still have about 4 months left, but guys, there is this factor known as time acceleration. So before you know it, it is going to be November. So yeah, November is going to be a big month. That's why I want to do this intention on the 30th of October, in case, of course, we do see mass ships or what is known as a mass, what's the word I'm looking for? Mass sighting event worldwide, right? Pushing disclosure on a scale that has never been experienced before, where even the Earth governments are going to have it difficult to maintain the secrecy if, of course, our entire skies are full of fleets. So on the 30th of August, we're going to be setting the intention so that we could have a full disclosure before the end of the year. All right. And again, you could access that link through my website. And on Saturdays, when I give the galactic updates, I would like for you guys to write down your intent. Of course, if you had already signed or not signed, but decided to participate in that event on the 30th of October. So make sure you guys go to my website, or cosmicorigin.com, and access that event. That's only $40. And this is going to be amazing. Okay. So in addition to all of that, before I take my first question, this is strictly Q&A, guys. All right. No presentation. But again, I'm going to be going into detail per the questions. And I see I have my first super chat. So yeah, I'm going to start with the super chats, and then I'm going to just answer random questions. So this is going to go into many topics, many subjects. So yeah, once again, we're going to go deep, all right? Depending on the question that you ask, I'm going to do my best to fill in all the details and, of course, answer your questions. So my new classes are up for grab. They begin in 2 weeks, I believe on the 5th and 6th of September. I'm not sure. It's on a Saturday and Sunday. And the last month in which I'm going to be teaching my courses is October, because I decided to take November off from teaching because I want to go on a spiritual retreat. I want to go inward again. I've been way too busy the last 3 years, writing presentations every other day, writing 2 books, going on interviews, that, I feel like I need some time off, at least for a month, so that I could gather myself once again. So the first question I am going to take is coming from Patriot for God 777. Actually, what I'm going to do, Patriot for God, is I'm going to address the question from my cell phone. All right, so Patriot for God wants to know, are we currently being attacked by archons and school to lower our frequency, at work and school to lower our frequency? The answer to that is yes. If you are a light bearer, a volunteer, a light worker, whatever you want to call yourselves, if you have a lot of light in you, due to the fact that we're very close to purging the astral realm, the attacks regarding the archons are intensifying at this time. So the answer to that question is yes. And of course, a lot of the times these archons attack us through people that are low frequency or NPCs, non-player characters. So again, it is very common that if you are working with NPCs, if you are working with people that are low frequency, chances are is that The archons are going to use their body as a vessel to try to dim your light. So the answer to that is yes. They are trying to lower our frequency. Now, why is that? Well, because they don't want us to activate. Because they know, according to the secret prophecies, that if we activate, they are done for. All right? They're done for. So they don't want us to activate. So they're going to do everything in their power, guys, to keep us in a low frequency. Second part of your question, what are practical ways to shield us from attacks and maintain a high frequency from the attacks and then keep them away permanently? Good question. Well, the best way to shield yourself from any attack, whether it's coming from an archon, a reptilian, black magic, voodoo, whatever, okay, any demonic force, the best way to do it is to keep your frequency high. All right. Everything in reality is based on frequency, vibration, and energy. Nikola Tesla quote. So the moment that you maintain a high frequency, it's going to be very impossible for these demonic negative entities to even penetrate your field. So keep a high frequency as much as you can through positive emotions and, of course, elevated thought forms such as, contentment, compassion, peace, unconditional love, forgiveness. Okay. Another thing that you could also do is ground yourself. Ground yourself so that you could become a fortified tree, right? Allow yourself to connect deep into the earth's roots, right? You know how to ground yourself. You pretend to be a tree and you allow or you visualize the roots coming from the soles of your feet or the tailbone, depending on if where you're setting or not. And then you allow those roots to go deep into the earth. All right. Not to mention the earth's energy always gives us a sense of supporting power and assurance that we're going to be okay. The third thing that you can do to protect yourselves from demonic attacks is, of course, invoking the presence of Michael the archangel, your ancestors. And if you guys even want to go further than that, create your own sacred space, your own shrine, your own altar, whether it's in the privacy of your room, your office. Try to have an altar. Create an altar where you could actually have spiritual relics there. Perhaps an image of Jesus, an image of Saint Germain, Mother Mary, Archangel Gabriel, but just create the altar, okay? That's also going to protect you from these negative attacks. All right, next question. Next question is coming from Jill Miller. Thank you so much, sister, for your super chat. She says, when we ascend to the 5D and above, our bodies will be carbon-based and crystalline. Well, it depends on which dimensional layer of the earth you're going to be going into. To give you an example, if you go to the 5D earth, you're going to be operating with 50% crystalline and 50% carbon base. So you're going to be using your light body, but you're also going to be using only 50% of your carbon-based genetics. Now, if you go to the 6th dimension, which some of you guys are, then you're going to be using about 75% crystalline genetics and 25% carbon-based. For those of you guys that go to the 7th dimension, you're going to be using pure etheric crystalline genetics. 8th dimension, double diamond crystalline genetics. 9th dimension, double diamond star crystalline genetics. This is what we call etheric matter. And then for those of you guys, a very few of you that are going to be able to integrate all the way to the 10th D and above, you're going to be using a type of structure that is even considered more advanced than crystalline silica. It is known as hydroplasma genetics. Hydroplasma genetics, okay? Next part of your question. When our dogs ascend with us, won't their body composition need to be similar to ours in order to interact with us? Yes. It turns out that dogs are also souls undergoing their own evolutionary journey. So our furry kids, as we call them, our furry pets, um, I love the word, our furry children, they're going to be ascending too. So yes, they're also going to be doing or using a form of crystalline genetics, but the only difference between your dog here in the 3D and then your dog in the 50 is that your dog in the 50 is going to be able to communicate with you telepathically. Okay, so your dog is going to also be uh, expanding its consciousness or reaching a higher level of consciousness. Even the animals are evolving. Okay, good question. No, you will be able to interact with your dog if your dog ascends into the 5 dimensional realm. Good question. But as I mentioned in previous presentations and interviews, the animal kingdom is some souls that are in the animal bodies right now are about to graduate into the first stage of Homo sapiens. So, what that means is that they are probably going to be incarnating into a human body for the first time, right? As they are moving up in kingdoms. So they're probably going to be an Earth Terran in the 4th D Earth as well. That's if they don't, of course, decide to transition. And then depending on if whether their spirit is ready to move on to the next stage of their evolution, that will determine if whether or not your dog will continue being in the same physical body as a dog, but upgraded, right? Or decide to incarnate as a human. All right, so it all depends. All right, next question. Good questions. This is coming from Leone Alexandra. Welcome. Thank you so much. I came out of my body the other day by breathing, and I saw aliens around me, and my hands shape shifted. Interesting. Would you say that if that happens again, I should go all the way? Yes, why not? All right. One of the ways in which we are establishing first contact, my friends, is through us, the ground crew. So they're coming to us first before they do their mass sightings or before they do their mass landings or even interact with governments. They're coming to us first. So to answer your question is yes. Next time, play with some of these new abilities, okay? That is your star family letting you know that you are ready to activate. All right, next part of that question. Would you say that if that happens again, go all the way? Yes, I did say go all the way. Is that me moving into the higher dimensions? Well, what if I say it this way? It's yes. But the best way to say it is you reintegrating with who you already were in the higher dimensions. Again, ascension is not about becoming something new. Ascension is about restoring ourselves to who we were as celestial beings before we decided to become human beings. Great questions. All right, next question. All right. All right, now that I've taken care of the super chats, I'm going to go ahead and just take random questions at this time. Dinosaurs froze with the polar shift that altered the Earth axis. That is also true, but bear in mind also that some of these dinosaurs with advanced alien genetics, I think with the help of the alien, what is it called, the Greys and the Zetas, certain elements of the CIA, shadow government, were able to resurrect some of these dinosaurs back in the 1980s. And so the concept of Jurassic Park is real. All right. And I can't disclose where this base is, but it's connected to a forest in South America where they literally have contained and recreated or resurrected some of these dinosaurs. So these dinosaurs are coming back. But again, they are being held within certain parameters in jungles that have a huge wall. So they can only roam so much. Okay. They do have a wall that prevents this secret operation from being exposed to, like, say, civilians or, the surface dwellers. So, yes, as of the 1980s, my friends, Jurassic Park has existed. Okay, this is another rabbit hole that nobody really talks about. Yes, they have the technology to literally recreate and resurrect the dinosaurs of old, but they are being held within a controlled parameter. Okay. All right. Next question is a super chat. Again, I'm going to take the super chats as they come in right away. And then after that, I'm going to just take random questions. Next question. All right. No question. Shuri, thank you so much for the super chat. Okay, so what if your electronics are in a Faraday bag during the solar flash? A Faraday bag is designed to protect from EMP, will still be destroyed. Okay. Thank you for even asking that question, because I know in my last live, somebody asked me if our electronics are going to fry during the solar flash. Well, the solar flash is in a way an electromagnetic impulse or pulse that is supposed to take down the old grid. Okay, that is supposed to deactivate any last remnants of negative AI, including the AI that the shadow government has been developing, any leftover remnant negative entities, Draco, Zetas, Greys, Insectoids, you name it. The solar flash is also designed to, of course, deactivate the current way in which we use power and energy. So there's nothing wrong with that, okay? Because as our electrical gadgets become deactivated due to the EMP blast of the solar flash, in a sense, we're also being upgraded. And if you are being upgraded to utilizing at least 50% of your crystalline form, right, your crystalline genetics, you won't need one of these. You're going to be a telepath. You're going to be able to communicate telepathically. And then for those of you guys that are reintegrating reality to the sixth dimension or above, you're going to be a teleporter. Do you think you're going to need a car anymore? Guys, things are going to be so much different after the solar flash. In fact, the reason we use these devices and the reason we depend on these devices is because the natural software that has been suppressed, right, our internal technology, has been shut off for thousands of years, reducing us to what? To Homo sapiens, allowing us, making us, forcing us to use these gadgets. But as soon as those abilities come online with the activation of the internal software, well, guess what? You're not going to need these objects anymore, or these technologies. It's all going to come back to you guys, okay? It's all going to come back to you. All right, next question. So yeah, to answer your question, it's not going to matter if you put your stuff in a Faraday cage or a Faraday bag. It's not going to. It's like the elites that think that they're going to hide from the solar flash by simply going in their underground base, their underground structures. No, it's not going to happen that way. The solar flash is going to be penetrating deep into every layer of the earth, right? To the point where it's even going to affect, believe it or not, the inner earth societies, right? The civilizations that exist within the hollow earth. All right, next question. When the 3 days of darkness comes, if we are asleep, how do we let our dogs out to go to the bathroom? Well, even the animals are going to be undergoing 3 days of rest. So you don't have to worry about taking your dog outside for pee. Allow the animal to also upgrade throughout those 3 days. Now, I did a whole presentation on the 3 days of darkness probably about 3 months ago. So if you want to know more about how that's going to happen in greater detail, I would suggest to go to about 3 months in, right, in the history of my YouTube channel and watch 3 days of darkness. Have the first waivers ascended yet? Is asking Jill Miller. No, not yet. Again, guys, I can't give you guys the exact date or the exact time of the first waivers or the great solar flash or the first, whatever you want to call it, the first level of the event. I don't have that answer. Only God Almighty, okay? So I don't know the exact date. I'm not going to give you the exact date. But what I do know is that, based on what's happening worldwide, right, with power outages, with possible grid shutdowns, global conflicts that are escalating, guys, it is best to always be prepared, like a Boy Scout. How many of you guys were a Boy Scout or Girl Scout back in the day, or even a Cub Scout? I was. And do you remember the motto? Always be prepared. So my suggestion is to just stay vigilant, focused, and aware. And most importantly, guys, stay calm. Okay, stay calm. All right, next question. Oh, really quick. I also wanted to remind you guys that I do have a new bank account. So for those of you guys that would like to support my work, I do have a Zelle through projectrestorationzion@gmail.com. So it is active once again through projectrestorationzion@gmail.com. I just wanted to throw that out there because I know about 2 weeks ago my bank account was deactivated, but I was fortunate enough to open up another one. And so I have an account once again. Thank you. All right, next question. This question is coming from, again, I'm going to take all the super chats first, and then I'm just going to take random questions. Leonie Alexandra, she says, how many solar flashes have we had recently, and how many are left? If you are referring to the entire history of the Earth, going back to 560 million years ago when the first human creation came about, I would say we probably had it happens every 26,000 years, right? Well, if you times that with 206 million year cycle, which is us and Alcyon going around the galactic core, we probably had a few million solar flashes throughout the time period going back to about 560 million years ago. So this is the last solar flash. Okay, this is not just another one. This is going to be the last and final solar flash before the Earth continues ascending in an upward spiral. All right, good question. All right, Nathan Taylor, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, I know you said we will know when the first flash happens, but what will we know when the second and third flash happen? Well, it's going to be like a domino effect. One solar flash, the first one rather, in this regard, is going to trigger the second one. So it's going to happen in intervals of every 30 to 60 days, perhaps even 90 days. All right, it's going to happen in intervals of every 2 to 3 months. The third solar flash is where the normies, or those that are unawakened, those that have no clue, right, with the exception of the NPCs, that's when they're going to have the opportunity to literally transfer or transition into the near Earth before, of course, the splitting of timelines takes effect. Good question, though. Good question. Thank you so much, Tina Barnes, for your super chat. Greatly appreciated, sister. Grant David Wilson, a fractal of Gabriel the Archangel. How you doing, brother? He says, are the dormant strands of DNA existing in the higher densities within 3D people, awaiting the solar flash to activate them? Yes. That's where the dormant DNA is for the most part. You see, guys, it's only about 3 to 4% of our genome that is related to the chimpanzees and the Earth stock, okay? The other 96% of our genome is operating, of course, in higher realities, okay? And that is the genome that is associated with crystalline structures, and even beyond that, hydroplasma, and even beyond that, what is known as, I believe the word for that is luminoplasma, as they call it, which is the highest level. All right, let's continue here. The second part of your question, he says, so tuned to the level of consciousness of the nun, 144,000 Earth Terrans. Well, yes, the 144,000 are literally the core of the entire starseed community. So whoever you guys are going to have the capacity of activating not only just your 12 strands of DNA, but a total of 144 strands, which has never happened before in the history of our cosmos. That is so correct. So, yeah, to answer your question, these dormant strands are existing in the higher dimensions. And when we activate those dormant strands, we are once again plugged in into these higher realities. See, the reason we've been we fell in consciousness is by virtue of disconnecting 10 strands of our DNA. That's when the fall took place. The original atom was a spiritual atom made as an immortal, okay, with 12 strands of DNA fully active. So when the other 10 strands come online, well, guess what? That dormant genetic structure will also come online. If that makes any sense. All right, next question. ISIS 14423, thank you so much. It says, hi, brother. Is segment a part of the Orma? Yes. Segment, the ancient Egyptian goddess, was hominid from the neck down with a face of a lioness. So, yeah, she is an Orma. I am so glad that you recognize that. What dimension is she from? I believe she was from the 11th dimension. So she is part of what is known as the Ra Collective. Also, what dimension is Ra in the Ormas from? Dimensions 10, 11, and 12. Also, have you heard of Chris Bledsoe? No, I've never heard of him. An encounter with Hathor and the Orbs. Interesting. No, I've never heard of Chris Bledsoe. But thank you for sharing. But yeah, apparently the goddess, the ancient Egyptian goddess known as Segment, was not a typical, you could say, creator goddess. She was actually a guardian that descended all the way from the 11th dimension. And she materialized a physical form, being hominid or human from the neck down, and of course, having the head of a lion. Okay. So to answer your question is yes, she was definitely an Orma. All right, next question. What is your thoughts on why so many earthquakes around the world with days or weeks apart? This is a question from Rick Romero. Well, if you guys have seen my last presentation going back to Wednesday, I did a whole deep dive on, the different types of earthquakes that are actually happening at this time. Some are natural catastrophes, and some, of course, are artificially induced in order to destroy more underground facilities. So I would resort to that video. I believe that was last Wednesday. So yeah, if you guys go back to Wednesday, I did a whole video on that. All right, next part of the question is, or the next one, I'm just going to take random questions. All right, Nathan Taylor, thanks so much for the super chat. So, are we going to see humans? Are we going to see humans dating ETs now? I would have to say is yes. When we do establish first contact, then chances are is that not only are we going to be positively interacting with, humans from other star systems, but in some regard, right, as we become upgraded to their level or above, then yes, we're going to eventually, some of you guys, those of you that are single, of course, are going to be able to establish a relationship with an off-worlder. How does that sound? So yeah, the answer to that is absolutely. All right, next question. Yes, can I get some water, please? Thank you. All right. The next question is coming from. Oh, no question, just a super chat. Thank you, Tina. I appreciate that. All right. Random questions at this time. Okay, so this is a good question. What is Donald looking for in the Gulf of Mexico? Not oil, she says. I'm sure of it. Then what is it? And why is there so many whales there? Well, there is an interdimensional doorway, and there is some speculation that the Gulf of Mexico, which he wants to repurpose and call it the Gulf of America, has an active Stargate. Okay, and that explains why not only are there a lot of whales there, because whales are aliens or ETs from Sirius, the system of Sirius C, I believe, right? They are cetaceans, but it's also to control the interdimensional doorway that has been left open for quite some time within the last few years. Prior to the last few years, that portal was closed by the Galactic Alliance. But recently, due to the war with the Verdants, which is an AI / reptilian race that came from another universe, they opened up that portal once again. So right now in the Gulf of Mexico, they have dispatched super soldiers that are working side by side with Ormas and, of course, Galactic Alliance in order to, of course, seal the gates or the interdimensional doorway that was left open by the Verdants. So that is what's happening in the Gulf of Mexico. Good question. Thank you so much, Jill Miller, for your super chat. She says, Ishmael, is there a lady who channels with the Arcturians? Her name is Sarah Harya. Has she said that the solar flash has already happened and the 3 days of darkness will only be one? Can you check on this? All right. Well, based on my internal guidance system, my intuition, I'm getting that she is not channeling accurate information. So to answer your question, no, the solar flash hasn't happened. Well, at least not in 3D, right? But no, it hasn't happened as far as I know it. Again, when you guys listen to other people's content and they are channeling different ETs, it doesn't matter which collective it is, even if they are benevolent like the Arcturians, you have to use discernment, okay? Not every, you could say, galactic ambassador out there, or what's the word? Not every person who channels galactics, that's the word, okay, is actually channeling accurate information. So this is where you have to use your discernment. And as I mentioned before, right now, more than ever, that is your superpower. Okay, so use your discernment. The solar flash hasn't happened yet. And no, we're not going to just have 1 day of darkness. We're having 3 days of darkness because, per the galactic records, it takes approximately 72 hours for a planet who has dropped in density like the Earth in the 3D to once again acclimate back into the 50 or higher. It takes about 3 days. Okay, so the answer to that is no. You have to use discernment. Good question, though. All right, random questions until the super chats come in. Ishmael, can you tell me if the light I see in the sky last night was some type of contact? Is asking Alicia. Well, I don't know what you saw. Maybe you could write more details and describe what you saw, and I might be able to tell you what you saw. But as far as like just telling me generalities, I mean, that could have been any light. It could have been an orb. It could have been, it could have been a craft, but it also could have been a flashlight projected from another human being. So if you could give me more details, I could probably answer that for you. All right, next question. This is coming from Nathan Taylor. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says, I heard that there is some ET technology in the mountains in Iran. Think I heard there is some red door there. Not sure. What do you know about this? I am not talking about the Stargate in Abaddon, Iran. If you don't know, can you ask Valiant Thor? All right. So I'm just gonna break. I'm just gonna be real, okay? um, a lot of the old Anunnaki, before they fled the Earth, before they were kicked out by the Galactics, a lot of them established underground strongholds in the region of Iran. So that could be the case. You know, even the mountains that are surrounding Iran are shrouded with mystery. Okay, so I wouldn't be surprised. All right, I wouldn't be surprised if there is some sort of a secret door passage in the mountains of Iran, because again, prior to the Anunnaki being kicked out of this Earth by the Galactic Alliance, there were a lot of underground, you know, structures that were operated by these Anunnakis for thousands of years. So I wouldn't be surprised. Now, I don't know the details about that. Again, you know, I could always ask Commander Valiant Thor and probably do a presentation in the near future. So that is a good question. All right, next question. All right, this is also coming from Leonie Alexandra. Thank you so much for the super chat. She says, I am a reflector in human design. Is this relevant in the new dimension or just something in this dimension? Okay, anything that has to do with arts and crafts, all of that will translate in the new dimension. Okay, the only thing that we're not going to have in the new dimension is anything that has to do with corruption, anything that has to do with dishonesty, anything that has to do with imbalance, inversion. So, if you are a reflector in the human design, if you are an artist, a paintist, a musician, who knows, even a person who does pottery, all of those talents, all of that stuff will be existing in the higher dimensions. So everything is going to be translated as far as the arts are concerned. Okay, good question. Stephanie, thank you so much for your super chat. I appreciate that, sister. No question, though. Okay. All right, next question is coming from Psyche John. Can you discuss the Queen of the Universe? Well, which universe are we referring to? If you are referring to our local universe, universe number 84, within the super universe of Orventon, well, then the answer to that is the twin flame of Michael. So Michael, Lord Michael, commonly known as Michael the Archangel, is the overseer of our creation. And his counterpart is known as Faith or Mishaela. So she is the Omni Queen, sovereign, feminine aspect of Michael the Archangel. All right, next question. No, I don't do individual readings. I do classes. I teach 3 different level ascension courses. Ascension Basics for beginners who want to understand the transition from the 3D into the 5D. I teach you how to become mindful. I teach you various techniques to master yourself, master your mind, and develop and cultivate the internal awareness. And in the second level of ascension courses, I teach you how to access the quantum field, how to activate the light body so that you can become multidimensional. And in Ascension 3.0, I teach you how to embody the cosmic selves through the activation of the higher chakras. So all of those classes are now available. They start, I believe, the first weekend of September. All right. Ascension Basics is on a Saturday. Our Cosmic Origin, which is my groundbreaking class, that is on a Saturday. And then Ascension 2.0 and Ascension 3.0 are on Sundays. So I hope to see you in class. It's very interactive. It's like talking to me on a Zoom. And not to mention, for all of my new students, meaning that first time taking a course with me, this is where you get a chance to tell me about you. Okay, so I also like to get to know about you. All right, next question is coming from Nathan Taylor. Thank you so much, brother, for the super chat. He says, I heard that there is some ET technology in the mountains. Oh, I've already taken that. All right, next question is coming from DYZ. Thank you so much, sister. She says, what are your thoughts on the great and terrible day? Well, that sounds like a biblical phrase. The great and terrible day of the Lord, right, per the Bible and other holy books, is a metaphor describing the complete annihilation of all evil on earth. So the only people that have to fear are the wicked. All right. This time the Christ, right, the Kalki avatar, and the team of Kalkis, the team of angels, are coming with a sword. Right? They're coming not to be crucified anymore, but to slay all of evil. Okay, so that's what the meaning of the great and terrible day means. The end of evil as we know it. So that the meek inherit the new earth. Great question. Next question. This is coming from MAB, M-A-B 3148. She says, are you using the 3 days of darkness? Oh, no, are you saying, I'm over a little ahead of myself here. I apologize. All right. Are you saying that the 3 days of darkness will come after the solar flash? No, the solar flash will be the precursor of the 3 days of darkness. That's what I'm saying. And will we be unconscious for roughly 3 days due to the flash? I don't want to say unconscious. I'd rather say we're going to be in a state of, what's the right word? It's not unconscious. We're going to be in a state of stasis. So it's very similar to unconscious. It's almost like we're going to be asleep for about 3 days, but not totally unconscious. Okay. Next question. All right. This is coming from Galactic Gal 144. Thank you so much. She says, just wanted to say thank you. My team made sure I found you years ago to help with my awakening. Appreciate all you do. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. All right, next question. This is coming from Nathan Taylor 9714. That's what it says on your handle here. If the solar flash is to take everything out, and there is no electricity, what is the Alliance going to cause? What is the Alliance going to do? Okay, so, well, first of all, the 10 days of darkness, which is going to be precipitated by the EBS, the emergency broadcast system, is totally different from the solar flash. Those are two different events, first of all. So, per your question, what is the Alliance going to do when the solar flash knocks out the electricity? Well, again, they're not going to do anything because even they are going to be in some form of stasis for about 3 days. So no, the Alliance isn't going to do anything. Every being is going to be in stasis for about 3 days when this happens. So we're not going to need food for 3 days because our bodies are going to be acclimating into the new frequency so that we could be able to exist within the new Earth structure. So there won't be no need for heat, electricity, or food, if that makes any sense. All right, next question. All right, this is coming from Leonie Alexandra. Once again, thank you so much for the super chat. My ex had a chip put inside of him by some octopus-looking aliens. Does that mean he's programmed for the dark? Well, I'm not sure who this alien octopus was working for. I couldn't really answer your question, but if he was whenever the aliens put chips in you is for various reasons, but the main reason is to track you, all right? And also because they have extracted genetics from you in order to use in their hybridization programs. So apparently this alien-looking octopus creature thingamajig, for whatever reason, is the best way to describe it is they have a contract with your ex. Okay, they established some sort of a contract with their ex, explaining the chip, okay? But also, I'm going to say this for the first time, all right? Don't take this the wrong way, Galactic Jedis, but when you are abducted by your own star family, the good benevolent beings, sometimes, in some cases, they do put chips in you in order to protect you. The chips, the positive chips, are designed to protect you from death, from negative frequencies, and most importantly, from all of the nanotech that was forced into the human race, right? So there are positive chips that come from the Galactic Alliance, and there are negative chips that come from the negative regressives. All right, next question. So, yeah, I don't know if your husband is now working for the dark side because, again, not all aliens that look like octopuses are evil. Some are good, some are evil. All right, next question. I do want to thank Shuri for her super chat. Thank you so much, sister. And then this is coming from Stephanie Peterson. Thank you so much. She says, "What is Solar Warden? I heard this in meditation. Then I heard Captain, then Command Center. I asked who's speaking. I heard Yisa." All right, well, to answer your question, Solar Warden, along with Radiant Guardians and Radiant Glory, are the main positive off-world military programs that were established as a result of the meetings that took place between Commander Valiant Thor, the Ashdart Command, and the Palladian Confederacy back in the 1950s. So it took about 10 years to roll it out. At the end of 1967 to 69, beginning of 1970, Solar Warden was in full effect. And that is what we call today now the Positive Secret Space Program. Now, the reason Solar Warden is known as the Positive Secret Space Program is because not only was Solar Warden designed to protect the Earth, our solar system, from external invasions, but they were also designed to put out all the fires, in other words, to recuperate, restore, and free and liberate all of those worlds that had been captured by the space-faring Nazis, which is a negative secret space program that they refer to as the Dark Fleet. So yeah, Solar Warden are the good guys. So now Solar Warden and Space Force are becoming two sides of the same coin. You see, guys, Space Force is being used as a front so that the global military alliance could eventually bleed through all of this advanced technologies into the surface world so that we could have a space-age society. So Solar Warden are the positive breakaway groups. They are the good guys. Good question. So how it was developed is that you have different command structures. You have captains, right? You have commanders, and then you have the generals. The generals are pretty much the ones that are at the highest echelons of Solar Warden. So it's divided by captains, different grades of captains, and then you have commanders above the captains. And then, of course, you also have generals. So at the highest level of the global military alliance, we could say that it is connected to the 12 generals that are running Solar Warden. I'm good right now. Thank you. Actually, no, I need more water. Thank you so much. All right. Next question. You guys are asking some really good questions. All right. This is coming from James Staples. Thank you for the super chat. He says, "Good day, Ish. You said sharks originally created by negative forces and organic dolphins and whales from Sirius. Are governments protecting sharks to keep us from going into the oceans for ascension?" I'm not sure about that, but all you could say are all of the different predatory creatures that eat humans, right? scorpions, snakes, black widows, all of those insects and things that are considered like predatory are a genetic, you could say, what's the word I'm looking for? No, they are a genetic degeneration of something that existed prior to them that were more benevolent, if that makes any sense. So as we ascend and the animals ascend, you're going to be able to swim with the sharks, with the exception, of course, of the venomous snakes, black widows, and scorpions. Those were created by the non-cosmic black ray of Kaladin, which is the scorching ray of Lord Samana Lucifer. You guys are asking some really good questions tonight. Wow. Thank you so much for the super chat, brother. He's asking how many more years 5D Earth shift will take place. Well, I could give you a time frame. I just don't know the exact date or hour. I would say between now and 2028. Next question. All right, so this next question is coming from Mab. Thank you so much for the super chat. She says, I've had 2 dreams of being taken off planet. Well, what if I tell you those weren't dreams? You were really taken off planet. Sometimes when we are taken off world, guys, it comes to us in the form of dreams. Okay, that's how we are able to. What's the best way to describe it? That's how we are able to know. Okay, through our dreams. Our dreams are telling us the truth. Okay, next part of your question. I was being upgraded by insectoids. I don't know what to make of this dream. What are your thoughts? Well, as mentioned before, not all insectoids are evil. Some insectoids are working with the Federation / Galactic Alliance. So in this regard, what? Do you have a question? No question? I could have sworn I heard a voice in my living room ask me a question. That was weird. All right, so to answer your question, some insectoids are part of the benevolent groups, positive programs. And so in this regard, who knows, maybe you have insectoid DNA in you. Maybe you're part human, part something else, part insectoid, right? As I mentioned before, there are 22 genetic programs that are competing with one another. So this could have been done for one of those genetic programs. So to answer your question, no, it's not always necessarily a bad thing, okay? Some insectoids are benevolent. I was on a ship and saw a blue being, aka my soulmate, in a dream. I believe you. This is coming from Project Skyfalls. All right, next question is coming from 4 Whales Shake. Welcome. He says, I was exposed to the Urantia book back in the 1990s, studied it for quite some time. How has it influenced you, and what is its role during this awakening? It has had a profound impact on me. Well, for starters, the Urantia revelation was supposed to be the 4th epical revelation to humanity, with the Bible being the first in its original context. Of course, it was modified. Both of them were. But the cosmology aspect of the Urantia revelation is accurate. The way they break down the organization of cosmos, with local universes being organized into super universes, and then super universes being different segments of the central universe, that is actually verifiable through the new cutting edge science coming from the avenues of superstring theory, M theory, and unified field theory. There is this thing called the motherverse, right? The metaverse, as the scientists now call it, that is giving birth to new universes each day. So that the cosmology aspect of the Urantia revelation is accurate. However, once it starts getting into the history of Urantia, which is the term that they use to describe our Earth, and the history or the true teachings of Jesus and life story of Jesus, that is all corrupt and modified by the Draconians. So even the Urantia revelation, which was supposed to be the fourth epical revelation to the earth, was tainted and tampered with, just like the Bible and just like the ancient Sumerian tablets. All right, since I'm doing a whole 90 minutes of Q&A, guys, I do have to take a quick restroom break. I will be back in a couple of minutes. Thank you guys so much for your patience. I am back. All right. Next question. This is coming from ISIS14423. What dimension are Isis and Osiris from? Good question. They represent the Orion Council, the High Council of Orion. So they probably come from dimensions 6, 7, and 8. Are there human fractals of Sophia on Earth? Yes. All of you female star seeds, old souls, whatever you guys want to call yourselves, are all fractals of the Great Mother. Are we the divine feminine activating Sophia with us? Yes. In fact, all of you females were tasked with the activation of Sophia back to the earth. So yeah, every female starseed on this planet is a fractal of Sophia. Okay? Isis was a fractal of Sophia. Mary Magdalene was a fractal of Sophia. Mother Mary was a fractal of Sophia. All right, next question. Well, Sophia is the feminine aspect of Prime Creator Source. She's also known as the Great Mother. You know, for all my new subscribers, I did a whole presentation on the Sophia codes approximately 4 months ago. All of these videos are in the history of my YouTube channel. Make sure you guys watch it. I think it was a whole presentation. It's called The Restoration of these Sophia Codes. I think it was about 3 months ago. All right, next question. What is the origins of the Basque language? Is it from the Atlantean times? Do Atlanteans come from Ceres? Thank you. No, Atlantis was an experiment to balance spiritual evolution with technological development. But it unfortunately leaned towards technological development at the expense of spirituality. But no, to answer your question, the Basque language is unique, okay? And I don't know if this is where even the part, it's like a combination of French and Spanish. They call it Catalan. I think that's where Catalan derives from. But what I do know is that the Basque people have been known to be Rh negative. holding the highest concentration of Rh negative blood type, which many believe are the descendants of Jesus and Mary Magdalene? Good question, though. I did a whole presentation on the fires in Nevada. I think it was last week. So I haven't gotten any current updates about it. All I know is that the Earth Alliance, with the help of the Galactics, they're still clearing all of those underground tunnels and bases in those regions. Correct. Thank you so much, D. D for your super chat. She says, "Do you think the great and terrible day is coming soon?" Yes, especially because we're seeing evil becoming more rampant. So, one thing I do know is that the signs of the times are here, guys. Okay. So, the fact that evil is becoming more rampant is a huge indicator that they're about to be taken out. So, yeah, to answer your question, is absolutely yes. Does it go along with anything on the galactic timeline? And do you think 2027 is going to be the great year? Yes, and yes. To answer both of those questions. Absolutely. Wow, you guys are asking me very good questions tonight. I don't even know why I never just dedicated a whole presentation for just Q&A. But again, only Monday nights will I be doing just strictly Q&A. Ascension updates are still going to continue Wednesday nights, and of course, galactic updates on Saturday nights. All right, next question. I forgot to mention something, guys. Disclaimer, I am not a doctor, but I do believe in detoxing your body from heavy metals, graphene oxide, and negative radiation. And not to mention, the product that does that is known as Folium, and there are two of them. One of them is known as DX, and this is for people that have diabetes, and the other one is AX for people that have autism. So you could go ahead and order DX or AX, which are now available. And the original Foliums are designed to cleanse your body from all metals and negative radiation. And when there are no metals in your body, well, guess what? There are no parasites. Okay, so it's like a full body detox. The link is always in the description, and I always also pin it in the comments at the end of the live. Okay, next question is coming from Telly Vaughn. Thank you so much. Ishmael, thank you for all you do. And Monica, do you for us? I paid for the Ascension 2 class on July 28th, but missed both classes. Is it possible for me to transfer that to the upcoming September class? Absolutely, yes. Do me a favor. Email me at Project Restoration Zion with the copy of your receipt, and I'll go ahead and forward you the link for the upcoming class in 2 weeks. Is Princess Diana alive and ready to come home? Back Q is the queen. Back Q is the queen. Yeah, Princess Diana is still alive. That is correct. You guys have some questions from like 2022, all right? All right, next question coming from PPeace124. Thank you for the super chat. What language or languages were spoken in Atlantis? Ooh, that is a good one. Well, I am not sure, but I would have to guess probably ancient Sanskrit, right? And ancient, what's the name of that language? I can't think about it. There is an ancient language in which all languages derive from. But then again, for the most part, some of the Atlanteans were so advanced that they didn't need any words. They were telepathic. So, for the most part, I think that they were telepathic. But yeah, there was an ancient language that was used in ancient Atlantis. And this is the language where even the ancient Hebrew, the ancient Sanskrit language came from. And even, the Aramaic or Egyptian, I believe. I believe all of those ancient languages derived from that one language spoken about during Atlantean times. I just can't think of the name. But if you guys know what the name of that language is, please write it in the comments. But yeah, for the most part, I believe that the Atlanteans were telepathic. All right, next question. Proto Indo European. Well, I believe it was before the Proto Indo European. What happens to people that have been implanted with ET tech? Well, it all depends. As mentioned earlier, there are some positive abductions by the benevolent ones, the guardians, that are just upgrading you, right? Your star family. And then there are negative abductions. So it all depends on the purpose of the abduction. All right, next super chat is coming from Ruben Rodriguez. Please explain what the AI data centers are actually going to be used for in the future. There are many hypotheses that are associated with the AI data centers. Some people believe is to steal the water, right? They want to hijack the water supply. Some people believe that they are designed to activate the graphene oxide in people in order to entrap them into the digital matrix when the solar flash takes place. Other people believe that the data centers are here to gather and collect information from all of us, right? In order to throw us into the technocratic dystopia. But mind you guys that the data centers are only part of the negative timeline. In other words, if you are ascending when the solar flash takes place, you won't have to worry about the repercussions of the data centers because at that point there will be a splitting of timelines. Okay. And I forgot to mention today is the 24th of August, 2026. And you know what, my friends? We are still on a positive timeline trajectory. Good question, though. P Piece 124. Oh, I've already answered that question or tried to answer that question. All right, next question. Somebody said that the ancient language spoke in Atlantis was called Palia or Pali, Palae. I'm going to have to look into that. That could be the one. That could be the one. Ish, have you ever spoken light language? Not that I remember. Perhaps unconsciously or in my sleep, but not that I remember. All right, next question. This is coming from John 963. He says, "Hey Ish, when we ascend to 5D, will we need a will for our adult children going to the 4D? No, no, not at all. Or do our assets just disappear? Well, if you go to the 5D and above, you won't need any assets, right? Your frequency will be your currency. If you go to the fourth D, then you will be benefiting from the revaluation, right? The GCR that leads us into the quantum financial system, the QFS. So it depends on which layer of the earth reality you go into. Good question, though. All right, next question is coming from Chicky Yankee. What a name, Chicky Yankee. Welcome. Some are saying that the AI data centers are placeholders for quantum computing and free energy, and not for nefarious purposes. Well, again, in the positive timeline, all of these things are going to be repurposed for good. So I would say that within the positive timeline, that makes a lot of sense. But in the negative timeline, unfortunately, they will be used for massive AI surveillance. It all depends on which timeline you end up in. All right. Right now, uh, we are living within a spectrum of six negative Earth timelines and six positive ones. And when the solar flash takes place, those 12 prominent timelines will collapse into only three, right? We're going to have an organic ascending timeline, a negative dystopia, technocratic, and the middle timeline. All right, next question. Justine Joy, QHHT, welcome. She says, how is it possible to keep it hidden from the public that half of Space Force died? Well, they don't report on what's happening off world on MSM, NBC, or even Fox News. So, I don't know why they don't do that. And from what I heard is that they did hold a memorial for the 50% of the casualties that took place a few weeks back with, after the incident with the remnants of the Dark Fleet coming from Earth 2701. I mean, I know that other people have reported on it, but I go into detail, guys. All right. Most people don't even link that this Dark Fleet, Starfleet, or spacecraft was coming from an alternative Earth reality. They think it was our own. No, within our current Earth timeline, the Dark Fleet has been dismantled. Okay, this Dark Fleet that launched the attacks on the moon was coming from an alternative Earth timeline known as Earth 2701. So nobody out there talks about that but me. Yes, I was informed that now others are talking about this incident, right? Even the skirmish that took place on Ceres, right? The asteroid. And of course, the countermeasures that took place in Nevada. So I am the only one that goes into detail. And a lot of that has to do with my connections to Commander Valiant Thor. I get my information directly from Commander Valiant Thor and the Jupiter Command. And that's why I go into great detail. Whereas other people just give generalities. All right, next question. Thank you so much, Ish, for all that you do. You're welcome. I see a lot of thank you guys. You guys are so welcome. You guys are also welcome. And again, I also want to thank you guys for being here and even for choosing to be on the positive timeline. Thank you guys so much. All right, next question is coming from. Oh, I've already answered that. Okay. Silicon Valley is controlled by the AI god Omega Metatron. Yeah, so all of the things that are happening and that are associated with Silicon Valley is no good. Okay? No good. All right, John, I guess your question was a little different. He says, what I meant was when my children who are going into 4D need a will from me to obtain my assets, and the answer to that is no. The answer to that is no. Okay. Next question. What is Omega Metatron? You must be new to my channel. Omega Metatron is the AI god that all the evil aliens have been answering to for the past billions of years. And his time is up. So that is who Omega Metatron is. He is what the secret space program whistleblowers refer to as the AI god. So I was the first one to actually disclose the history of Omega Metatron. In fact, if you take my class, our cosmic origin, not only do I break down the entire cosmic infrastructure, but I also give you guys 998 billion years of cosmic history. So I'm not just a galactic historian, I'm also a cosmic analyst and a cosmic historian. So if you guys want to know the truth about the history of the cosmos, take my class, Our Cosmic Origin. And the beauty of taking that class is that at the end of that class, you get your starseed origin read. So you get to find out exactly when your soul originated in this universe. All right, we have about 5 more minutes of Q&A. I didn't realize that 90 minutes of Q&A was going to go super fast. All right, so we got 5 more minutes of Q&A, guys. Hi, Ishmael. Can we have an update about the hybrid ET protocol? I believe I did a whole presentation on the different hybrid programs. I did a deep dive. I think it was about 2.5 weeks ago. So you guys have some great questions, but if you guys really want to know the details, just watch some of my old interviews, or not interviews, but presentations. Talking about interviews, guys, I was a guest on Inspired Evolution a few days ago, and I believe that interview was released yesterday. So if you guys get an opportunity, go to the YouTube channel by the name of Inspired Evolution. And I was on there. I did almost a 2 hour, I think it was an hour and 36-minute interview. I really went deep, right? I discussed a lot of subjects. A lot of things were, revealed in that interview. So if you guys want to watch that interview, go to Inspired Evolution, the YouTube channel, and watch it. It's really good. All right, a few more questions. Excuse me. Aaron said you saw it. Okay, cool. Wow. Vivian says, yes, great interview. How am I protected? Well, from what I was informed, is I am protected by the Galactic Alliance. And even to some extent, I was told that I'm also being protected by the Chinese elders and the Earth Alliance. So I have protection coming from every angle. Tracy says that my interview with Inspired Evolution was very informative. Yeah, I mean, if you guys really want to understand the scope of my knowledge, I would say watch that interview. That interview was just, I just kept going and going and going. I must have had at least 2 cups of coffee to keep my brain going. But yeah, that was a very good interview. Ishmael, when do you think that the dinar or the dong will be revalued? And does Sarah happen? I don't know. But just think about it this way, guys. Every day we are closer and closer to the revaluation. Debbie Mustang says that interview with Inspired Evolution was one of my best. Wow. Honestly, after rewatching that interview, so much information was revealed. I think I connected a lot of pieces of the puzzles for most folks, but thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. All right. Two more questions. One more question, and then we're going to end the live. Lisa Allen says, that interview is how I found you. Welcome. Welcome, Lisa. All right, last question. This is coming from Tina Mac 1111. No question, just a super chat. Thank you, Tina. All right, next question. What do you mean when you say that the reality construct is ending? Is it the timeline split? Yes. When the timeline splits occurs, this reality as we know it is coming to an end. Negative timeline will just continue as it is with more AI, right? Well, on a different reality, not our reality. Our reality will continue, but on an upward, organic, ascending timeline where there will be no AI. All right, that was the final question, guys. Don't forget that the deadline to participate on this August 28th Zoom webinar is Wednesday for only $60, guys. I'm going to be sharing 2 chapters of my upcoming book, more revelations regarding the history of Andromeda and revealing for the first time what a mega type 6 civilization is and much more. That's going to be a doozy, right? So I will see you guys this Saturday, the 29th at 11 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. And I'm going to be broadcasting from the good old Grand Canyon. But again, this is a Zoom webinar, so you guys don't have to go anywhere. You could watch this from the privacy of your home, right? So again, the deadline for that is this Wednesday, 2 days from now. So make sure you guys go to my website, or cosmicorigin.com, and access that next level cosmic revelation stream. May the God force be with you all, and I will see you guys on Wednesday for an Ascension Energy update. Bye for now.